What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Finally, I'm getting around to making a recap of the White Knights International Kettlebell Sport Competition in St. Petersburg. So that's a competition that takes place every year, and there are always people from different countries invited. And in this case, it was 14 countries. So I saw Mongolia, I think Kazakhstan, Indonesia, Poland, and a couple others. And I think in total it was around 250 athletes. So it started with the weigh-in on Thursday, and that was a little bit like stressful for me because I cut weight. I walk around at 75 to 76 kilograms, and I wanted to compete in 73. And 73 is like in the West we have in the WKSF, we have the and in the IKO as well, we have the 74 kilogram weight class. And that's a weight class I can make pretty easily, but just 73 in Russia, they have 73, so just 1 kilogram less. But for me, it just 73 I can't do as easily, so I really have to cut weight for that. And that's why it's always a bit of a struggle. And then I went to the wrong venue for the weigh-in and registration because I didn't read properly. And the registration and weigh-in took place at the hotel at another place than the venue of the actual competition. So I first went to the wrong place. And by the time I got to the weigh-in, I was already very hungry and thirsty, hadn't eaten all day and didn't have anything to drink. But I weighed in at 72.1 kilograms. So the weight cut went really well. I was able to weigh in well below what I needed, and I didn't even have to sweat. So I didn't sit in a hot tub or sauna or didn't run or anything like that. So that tells me I could make I could make an even lower weight class. For example, in the WKSF, they have the 70 kilogram weight class. So I could, in theory, I probably could make that even with a weigh in the day before. Anyways, weighed in, got registered, and then tried to recover for the next day. And the next day I got to the venue, and I got there relatively late because my flight was announced, I think, around 3 in the afternoon, and I knew the approximate time beforehand. So I kind of took it easy and did already like a general warm-up at home, and also did a general warm-up with the kettlebells already at home, already before I left the house, because I just thought I'd warm up so I could do that in peace and without the stress of actually being at the venue. And it turned out to be a good idea because I got there, and I have to say the organization was really, really good. So really thank you to the organizers of the event. Everybody was super nice, super friendly, and I started warming up, met a couple of my teammates who also competed from Bolshoi Kush in St. Petersburg, and then they had like this opening ceremony, and that turned out to be like a little bit of a problem for me because I was the only Austrian there, and that's why I had to present Austria at the ceremony, which obviously is a nice thing and an honor to be invited and take place. But I had to compete shortly after, and so I was already pretty nervous, and that's why I said it was a good thing I warmed up already at home beforehand, so I wasn't totally cold, and I was kind of like, we had this little signs with the flag on it, and I was like kind of standing there, and they were giving their speeches, and I was already, my mind was already, okay, I have to compete next, But it was a really nice ceremony with the representatives of the countries, and there was like a performance of dancers, like we often have that at the kettlebell sport competitions. I've been to the international ones, and then it was go time. So we had one flight before mine, and so I managed to warm up, and also like you have to prepare the kettlebells, and works like this, like they carry there are assistants, they carry the kettlebells to the warm-up area after each flight, and you have a couple minutes to prepare the handles because you want to like chalk them, right? And then they carry them back out. And turned out that like we didn't manage to, because it was only the second flight, so they weren't really chalked too well, and it was all a little bit like we did everything in a haste, and then it was already go time, and it also was quite humid, which turned out to be a problem later, but I'm going to talk about that in a minute. So during my preparation, like I said in the prior video, I I had the feeling that I wasn't ready, and I mean in some ways I was right because I'm already relatively experienced as an athlete, so it's not like I don't think I have a lot of mental block like mental barriers. Like I think I can always like realistically assess the level of performance I'm capable of, right? And so I was right in the sense that I'm not ready for the level of performance I expected from myself or I had like planned for. And I always say, you always show the performance you're capable of. There's no room for hoping or wishing. You know in training what you're capable of, and you don't show more and you don't really show less. So you do what you're prepared for. And I just understood in training, which was a little bit like disappointing, disheartening, that I'm not prepared for the performance I wanted to demonstrate. But like my coach, Anastasia, she said like, no, go with the 32s, and I'm thankful she said that because, like I said, the 24s are within my comfort zones, and the 32s are outside of my comfort zone. So we went with the 32s, and let's watch the performance together. So I was going at a very slow pace. My goal was to, like, my goal for this competition as I went into the set, like, best case was to get 30 reps. Because I knew from training that after 20 reps, especially with the Russian competition kettlebells, they are very thick compared to pretty much all other models. They are 35 millimeters, and the WKSF, I think, are 34. A lot of the bells in the West are even 33. And those are the new Russian kettlebells, the new comp bells, and the old comp standard in Russia was also less. So those are just hard to grip. And I knew from training that after 20 reps, my grips would start fatiguing and would start to give out. So I thought, okay, really slow pace, 3 reps per minute, and try to get to 30 reps, like as far as I can. And some people say like the slow pace is like, I mean, it's hard. I don't find it that hard actually, because even though my rack position isn't like perfect from a, like my hip structure, right, doesn't allow me to like relax the quads perfectly in rack position, but I'm just comfortable just standing there, especially from a biathlon background. So I used to do jerk, and you don't have as many phases of relaxation in the jerk. So even 3 RPM, like 3 reps per minute, is pretty okay for me. So I just kept going along at that pace and trying to get clean reps. Also with whenever the pace is like, you see in long cycle, people usually just drop to the chest and go right into the backswing of the clean, re-clean, and then rest in the rack. And I do that too, but when the pace is slower than 8 reps, I break it up. So I go from jerk to rack, rest a bit, then clean, re-clean, rest again. So I add one additional like phase of resting in the rack position after the drop from overhead. And you see a lot of high level athletes doing that, even at higher paces. You see a lot of like Russian Masters of Sport International class use the technique even at 7, 8, 9 RPM. But anyway, the set, I have to say, like physically, I felt really good. So in terms of cardio, obviously it's such a slow pace. It's not so demanding on the cardio, so I didn't really feel any fatigue from that. And in terms of my muscles, in a long set, after 5 minutes or so, or even earlier, especially when the pace is slow, or basically at any pace, you feel like your quads are starting to burn because they are under constant tension. And I didn't really get too much of that. So it was really like physically I felt great. And I had my teammates from the gym had supporting me and like coaching me through the set, like shouting and stuff. And that's why mentally I also felt really good. So even though it's like a large stage and I knew there would be a live stream and I'm kind of like, the like what is he like a peculiar specimen, like in the sense that like there are not a lot of Austrians in in kettlebell sport competing in Russia at the moment. So even though I knew I was kind of representing my country, I felt not a lot of pressure. So I was quite relaxed. Obviously, like you have that adrenaline and nervousness for the before the set and especially on the day before and on the day off, but I was feeling very good. So in that sense, everything went perfectly. The only thing, as I knew would be a problem because I knew it from training, right, is was the grip. And especially like I said, it was humid, and I don't want to make excuses because it's humid for everyone. But as I started sweating, there was like especially one spot on the handle of the kettlebell that wasn't chalked as well, and it started to get like pretty much wet. And like if the kettlebell handle gets wet, it's really slippery, and that's like the around the 5 minute mark, around 3 RPM. I started to feel it, and I knew I probably wasn't going to make it to 10 minutes, but I was basically unbothered, unfazed. I just knew I was going to keep going for as long as I was able to, and that's what I did. I just need more practice with because it's not just like the act of gripping, but it's also like in rack position, especially with 32 kilograms at a slow pace. You have your wrists slightly extended, and that means your forearm flexors, you can't really relax them. They're under pressure because they are stretched, right? And that's just this static dynamic load is just something you have to learn and have to get used to. So here we're in the 7th minute, 17 reps, and you see like already the clean is starting to become more forced. It's already starting to to become harder. And the problem is like when your forearms are tired, even though I had perfectly, I had more than enough strength to complete doing jerks, but when you reclean it and your forearms are tired and your wrists are kind of like giving out, it also affects the integrity of your jerk. So it's kind of like when you put someone in a wrist lock, they can't really express the strength of their biceps, for example. And that's kind of like the thing when your wrists kind of lose the structural integrity, it becomes hard to express like your strength in the jerk. And that's why the jerk is actually starting to look harder. Is I think this is the second to last rep I did, and here I was really feeling it. And that's the jerk. That's why the jerk was becoming so hard. And the other, like on that rep, I remember on the eccentric, I like hit myself in the head with the kettlebell, and that's why I stumbled a little bit. Yeah, I had actually had like a real bruise here for 2 to 3 days, even though I wasn't concussed or anything, but I hit myself pretty good. Yeah, rep 22, and that's like the belt just slipped out of my hand. I wasn't even like, if you look if you look at like how I'm walking away, I'm not really that tired. Like I could have gone 10 minutes pretty easily, but it's just like if you look closer at the video, just like I said, handle got wet and it just slipped out of my hand, and that was it. So, am I happy with the performance? Like, basically yes, because first off, that was the most reps I did with the competition kettlebell, so with the thick 35 millimeter ones. I did 23 reps, which is only one rep more with the thinner ones, with the old model, which is 34 millimeters, I think, which is much easier to grip. So in that way, it was a personal record. It was the most reps I ever did. It was the longest time I ever did with the 32s. And it was also like the 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 competition field was much more like there were more competitors with the 24s, and it would have been an interesting battle because I think I maybe would have gotten a chance to win with the 24s maybe, and there were like more opponents there. So in that sense, it would have been more interesting. But I'm still happy I competed with the 32s because that just expanded like my understanding of what's possible much more. So now I know like it doesn't feel impossible anymore to do 32s. And because I cut weight, like that wasn't planned, I just cut weight because I understand that's the weight class I'm supposed to be in. Because when I look at like the Russians, like the high level guys, they are like the guys in the 78 kilogram weight class, they are like all like a foot taller, like they're like considerably taller than me. So because kettlebell sport is a sport for like lean like dogs, like the running dogs. So I'm just too short for the 78 kilogram weight class. I'm just too big, and I have to cut weight because 73 is just the weight class I'm supposed to be in. So that was the reason. It's the reason I'm cutting to that weight class, just like basically professionalism. But it turned out that there was no one else competing in with 32s in the 73 kilogram weight class. So I actually got a gold medal. Yay me! I won an international kettlebell sport competition, and it was actually also really nice. They like awarded me with the gold medal and like the diploma, and they also gave me like a present. We got two presents. One just for like joining as international competitors, and also like the other one was for winning the class. And it was just like some stuff from like this cap, for example, a T-shirt, and it's like it's called Forward. It's like a popular like brand in Russia. Pretty looks pretty good in my opinion. And they played the Austrian hymn, and I have to like I've like yeah, it was really a good experience. I was really like thankful for the hospitality. I really appreciate like how well I was treated as a guest, and I can say only good things about basically everyone I met and all the organizers of the event. So that was really cool, and obviously I had I had a good time because all my like teammates from the gym were there. That was the recap of the competition. Unfortunately I couldn't watch day 2 and 3 because I had to leave right after, and that's also why I'm only making the video now, because I was traveling and a bunch of stuff happened basically. But yeah, that was an amazing experience, and I hope I can make it back next year, and I will probably stay with, because now I'm like just so far down that road, I will stay with double 32 kilogram long cycle for the year and try to like get my performance to respectable level and at least make the 10 minutes of the 32. So we have our own competition in Austria later this year, and there's also going to be like more competitions later down the line in winter. And what else is there to say, right? That the only way out is forward, and we keep grinding, we keep persisting, we keep lifting the bells, and that's the spirit of the sport, right? Self-improvement going forward. All right, guys, thanks for watching, and see you guys in the next video.